How many folks do you anticipate listening live?
We don't know, unfortunately.
All right. Well,
We
that's
just don't.
okay too.
At least 12.
At least we're going to be listening here.
I wish I knew.
I think my team's going to be listening,
We don't know.
so that way they can criticize me later. You know, be like, "What? We told you not to say that."
Are we running it?
Almost.
Look, you think we'll make it?
For sure.
Okay, thank you. We got about a minute and a half.
Did this,
What?
did it run out of battery last time,
It
or were we
didn't, and
good?
it's been plugged in, so it should be good. I just need to remember to reach over and tap it.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, we're live.
So you're going headphones?
Yes, please. Okay, we're on about a minute.
And then you can control the volume with that little knob right there.
Great.
Okay. 1 minute. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so even when we're at commercial, we're still live streaming, so we're never actually off the record, offline. Hi everybody, welcome. Welcome to the peak. Okay, here we go. And the volume is underneath the, where the clip. Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, and you're listening on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. Welcome to Faith and Family Wednesday. You know, they started putting that disclaimer at the beginning of the program, and I'm so busy at the beginning I don't really listen to it. But does it say that the opinions expressed here may not represent Salem, or do? I think it said do not. That's pretty harsh. I guess we really are saying the quiet stuff out loud. We have complete corporate deniability. That's great. It gives me a lot of freedom. I'm glad we've earned that disclaimer at the beginning. I love Salem. Salem's a bold company, but what that actually does is give me the freedom to say whatever I want, which I do on a daily basis. And we invite you to do the same. Because unlike every other, we're unlike pretty much every other media organization out there, definitely in the Springs, and a lot of things, a lot of reasons. One is absolutely no corporate control at all here. I'm the boss, and I like saying the quiet stuff out loud, and I love when other people say the quiet stuff out loud. And we invite you to be part of what we're doing here, because we're a citizen journalist operation. So we have citizen journalists who come on here, who help us report. Our guests, of course, can say whatever they want. We have interns who come down. We're providing that to young people. In fact, Seth is on the board right now. Seth, it's his birthday today. Yes? Is that I learned? 18 years old, running the board here at a big time radio station. This is the kind of opportunity we give you. So if you're out there and you're complaining that nobody cares and nobody will listen to me and nobody gives me an opportunity, just cut that garbage right out and go on the Peak.News, read about becoming a citizen journalist or a tech or an intern or a sponsor if you own a business or run an organization. We would love you to be a sponsor of what we're doing here, because guess what? The media has fallen so completely down. The media in this country is actually trusted less than the government. Can you believe that? pretty low numbers. But we can't operate as a free society like that. It just does not work. And so we need to put that trust back. And what better than having a group of fellow citizens coming together and putting the news out? That's our vision here. And we're about to complete 1 year. Next week, the 15th, is actually our first anniversary. Have a big show planned for that. But I guess today's a lot of anniversaries going on, not just Seth's 18th birthday, but it's actually today the 30th anniversary of my salvation or redemption or whatever you want to call it. The time I came, the day I came to know Jesus, to know Yeshua, the Messiah, as my personal Lord and Savior, and how great that it fell on Faith and Family Day, so I can actually talk about it here on the news. And at the end of the program, I am going to be sharing 5 things I've learned in the past 30 years. Yes, I've learned 5 things over the past 30 years. So we here at The Peak really honor our sponsors because they're the ones who put us on the air, provide the service to you. So please listen to the commercials, patronize them, use them, let them know that The Peak is why you found out about them. And shout out to our platinum sponsor, Springs Dentist and Dr. Craig Summer, Holistic Dentistry in Colorado Springs. They're our family dentist, and especially if you're into natural health, check that out. And then I'll give more information at the end of the program, but we are having an event January 30th at the Pinery, Taste of the Peak. This is a fundraiser for our nonprofit, for our internship program and media vocational training program. Go to thepeak.news/events for more information and to get your tickets on that. It's going to be a really fun night. So today on Faith and Family Day, we are talking about the state of homelessness in our region with the new president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams. Travis, welcome to The Peak.
Hey Goldman, it is good to be here and be sharing with your listeners today. I think we're going to have a good day.
Yeah, thank you for being here. You know, homelessness, I heard we were talking before the show. He said it's actually, even though it's up in the United States, it's down in Colorado Springs. So we'll find out, you know, how is that even possible? And of course, we will encourage you with ways that not just leaving this to the city and their homelessness plan, not just leaving it to NGOs, or not just even leaving it to the local church, but you, yes you, what can each one of us do to help those, our neighbors, right? Love our neighbors who are less fortunate here. And so during that, Travis is going to be talking about at some point homelessness, the seen and unseen, and then we're going to be talking about the state of homelessness, what's going on here, and what we can really do to help, and his vision for Springs Rescue Mission. Well, we're happy to have you here on The Peak, and we don't want passive listeners. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to get active, get ready to love your neighbor, get ready to enjoy the time that we're going to have here for the next hour. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to The Peak, and we will be right back with the President and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams, and the headlines. Okay. Actually got through that.
The video feed.
The video feed is happening. We're on Facebook.
All right,
at
so
The
everyone's
Peak
seeing
Media.
us.
Hi, the camera's up there.
There
Actually,
you
I always
go.
wave to the to there, but it's up there.
All right.
I don't know if we have anybody on, but people watch after the fact. We got a bunch of play there. Okay, so let's see. Richard Dawkins. Highlighter here. Good. Okay, so we have about 3 minutes or so.
So we're going to go into features.
This is F, and where it is it's the freedom from religion. It's the Freedom from Religion Foundation, but they've taken on these religions, these ideological. It's really, the deal is that Marxism gets in like a virus and just tries to get into every organization and use it and like destroy it, you know.
No.
You know, and I mean, they got in with the transgenders, and now the homosexuals that were like, we had rights, we had freedoms, people were leaving us alone and letting us live their life, but now you're grooming the children and you're being all vocal, and now
Swinging
they're
the pendulum just.
yeah, like we let you in,
Right.
and then you ruin, like you just got ridiculous, and now they're looking at us again. We got them to stop looking at us, stop. It's just in the end we're finding everything. Everything is it's Marxism. Everything. It just gets into everything. Gets into the church. Gets into everything, and like a virus, and just ruins it. That's really the common denominator of all of these things that don't seem to make any sense, but they do. See that. Like down at the Pride Fest, I went down there, and the Church of Satan had a booth, and the Democratic Socialist of El Paso County had a booth down at the Transgender Colorado Springs Pride. And we went down there, we did a report on it. It's like, what did they have to do with
Right.
stickers?
Yeah. Well, it's just there's a whole difference between, the idea of freedom and force. So I think that's where, Dawkins is looking at going, wow, I'm being forced to do this. I don't even have the freedom to think. Like, I can't even ask really big existential questions.
Because you guys are caught up in the ideology.
And so, yeah, I'd rather us keep freedom and allow people to ask. I guess I'm already sharing my thoughts on this topic. But I do think that's a big topic that I think about is really the.
Oh, by the way, real quick, if I do this, that's wrapping up like 10 or 15 seconds so we can get to the next thing.
Great.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The answer today is Faith and Family Wednesday, and we have with us as our guest and co-host for the hour the new president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams. Again, Travis, thanks for being here on the Peak.
Thanks, Goldman. It's good to be here with all the listeners.
I'm going to teach you to pronounce my first name, so you can stop calling me by my last one.
Okay.
Chaim.
Chaim.
Okay. Or you can
Well, how do you
Chaim.
like to say it?
Chaim. It's Chaim.
Chaim.
But there's no ch, and you have to spit across the
Chaim.
so there you go.
Chaim, we're here together. I'm going to call you Goldman. Let's go with Goldman.
Good.
We're going to have
I've never had anyone do that, but it's a good last name too. It has a lot of inherent value to it. So anyway, into the headline segment, and this is really interesting to me. This is not local news, but this is just. It really solidifies what we've been saying here for a long time about so many things that are going on in our society that people say, we have to get away from religion and we have to be a secular society. But secular humanism is a religion. It really is. I mean, people prescribe to it, and they don't allow necessarily, evidence or logic or anything. And religions do that. All religions, even Christianity, we sometimes lose our rationality in that because ideologies do that. And so I saw this morning. Richard Dawkins, if you don't know who that is probably the most famous atheist on the planet, very outspoken, 83-year-old guy, that he leaves the board of the Freedom for Religion Foundation, where he's an honorary board member, after it pulled an article opposing transgender ideology. Now, let me get into the story and lay this out for you. So there's this organization called the Freedom from Religion Foundation. You've probably heard about it. And anywhere religion, like organized religion of any kind, but especially Christianity, they come after it. They try to get it out of the military, out of everything. You can't do it. These are the and they're activists. They're quite and Richard Dawkins is on their board. But then they came out. Somebody came out with an article from there that they published regarding what is a woman, and that what is a woman is whatever a woman says. What you can identify, it can be whatever. And these people who are on there, especially Dawkins, who is a biologist and a rational person, says, no, this isn't true. There's not truth to it. So another board member by the name of Jerry Coyne wrote an article called Biology is Not Bigotry, pushing back against the fact that there is such a thing as biology, and there is men and there is women and there aren't all these genders. And this organization published it, but they got so much backlash from you-know-who, the people who scream over stuff, and they pulled the article. And at that point, Richard Dawkins and Jerry Coyne, who are atheist biologists, said, we can't be part of the Freedom from Religion Foundation anymore. And this is a quote Coyne wrote, because some non-binary people or men who identify as women feel that their identity is not adequately recognized by biology, they choose to impose ideology onto biology and concoct a new definition of woman. And when Dawkins left, his quote, "It is with real sadness because of my personal regard for you both that I feel obligated to resign as an honorary board member of FFRF. Publishing the silly and unscientific What is a Woman article was a minor error of judgment, redeemed by the decision to publish a rebuttal by a distinguished scientist from the relevant field, namely biology, Jerry Coyne." And these people have gotten to the point where they've recognized that transgenderism is a religion. It's an ideology that transcends rationality and logic, and they can't be parts of the Freedom of Religion Foundation is a religion. And all of these things, any ideology is a religion. And so this false narrative of organized religions like Christianity have to be done away with, but rational secular humanism is inherent. We see the whole thing falling apart. Travis, that's a big lead up.
All right, wow, we're just
Yeah.
Jumping into a lot. I'll tell you what, I think that where that really underscores, it's the importance of understanding the idea of freedom versus force, right? There's this idea that I think we should be, as Christians, for the free exchange of ideas, because when you're forced on ideas, right, that's not always a good thing either. And that's what we're seeing in this scenario. And so, one of the things that I think that as a believer, we should allow for the free exchange of ideas, because we really believe in the truth that sustains us, right? I mean, it says in First
And the
Thessalonians.
truth will win out, so we're
Exactly.
willing to deal with it. Yeah.
1 Thessalonians 5:21, test everything and hold fast to what is good. So test everything, knowing that God's truth is ultimately going to shine. And so I think that's interesting from Dawkins' standpoint, is he's actually just wanting the truth to shine.
And it's gotten to the point where he just can't can't stand being around these people who claim they're not religious, because he is against it. He's a non-religionist. And wokeism is a religion. Okay, next article. First draft of Colorado Springs rules for recreational marijuana sales released. As we know, the ballot initiative 301, the one to keep it out, lost. And now they're going to probably have to implement it, even though the city council is trying to play around with it and make it a mile instead of 1,000 feet as it was in the proposition, which would then make it impossible. But they're doing that first draft. But a lot of people who object to this say that people were lied to regarding this proposition, and that that this is a beneficial thing. Travis, as the head of Springs Rescue Mission, do you see rec marijuana being more available in Colorado Springs as a good thing for our community or not? Because you deal with the fallout firsthand.
Yeah. No, I mean, we understand that marijuana, that's a complex issue at some point, but for the work that we're doing, we just don't see any benefit. There's no benefit to the clients, the guests that we serve, and in fact, we see often a more harmful. And when we started to really see homelessness take off in the United States over the last decade, you can't say that's a causation, but there's some interesting correlation when we started to see how Colorado Springs started to change when Colorado legalized marijuana. So it's one of those issues that I think as Coloradans we need to be we need to watch very carefully, because it can really harm people.
So do you see if these about 100 shops, medical shops, if they get to start selling this, do you see that having more of an effect on homelessness and drug problems and things? Because people say, well, it's closer, people don't need to go as far, like this is actually a benefit, and we'll have the tax money.
Yeah.
What, you know, but again, you deal with this day to day.
I mean, I guess I haven't seen anywhere that it's actually provided some really positive results. So I don't see any big benefit. I don't see that for our clients at the rescue mission that it really does them any good, particularly when they're struggling to try and free themselves and to find freedom from addiction.
Okay. Third article, City of Colorado Springs released its plan, 2025 plan for homelessness a couple of months ago, but we haven't really commented on it, and this is something I wanted you to do. 6 areas of focus: enforcement and cleanup, street outreach and shelter, homelessness prevention, employment, housing, supportive services, collaborate, and public communications. And there's this big plan with a lot of data, a lot of pictures in it. What do you think about this as a plan, as an effective plan? Again, as someone who has to deal with the practical on a day-to-day basis of homelessness.
You know what, I really do appreciate the effort that goes into thinking about homelessness. It is a very complex issue, and it takes a lot of thought and a certain level of response. And I guess what I would say is that there's only so much that any city government can do, right? Community problems take community solutions. And so I think that the city is doing the best that they can at this juncture with the resources they have to at least acknowledge the challenges and then at least put something forward that can get the dialogue and the conversation moving in the right direction.
Okay. I'll just say,
You can say, yeah.
as you can, lot of pictures, a lot of graphs. But you know, is this solid policy? Well, go on the City of Colorado Springs website, download it yourself, see, and is this problem to be solved by government, NGOs, the church, and ourselves? When we come back, President and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams, is going to be talking about homelessness, the seen and the unseen. You're listening to The Peak, and we'll be right back. Okay. I took the bad cop side.
Hey, that's all right. I mean, you know, and I think to some extent, I mean, you know, is the city doing everything? You know, if you really do believe that in limited government and people, then I think to some extent you don't want to see too big of a plan.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you hope that this community will step up, and I think that's kind of one of the pieces that I see with Springs Rescue Mission, and that we can do as a community. We can do some really amazing things together if the city creates a good platform for that to happen. Right? If you start getting into removing free speech and dialogue and dictating this is the only way, and I'd say that's been part of the challenges in homelessness, is that even at a federal level, some expert says this is the only way to solve it. And then everybody goes over there and millions of dollars go into it from the federal, and they miss something, right? It's homelessness is more complex than just housing, so that's where the federal government has gone. And so I think that's where
Okay.
I actually don't want to see too many big plans.
Because government tends to be the problem.
Well, I guess more going in the free market side of things.
So, okay, so we're on 3. This is where I'm going to turn it over to you. So I will give you hand signals of 3,
Okay.
2, 1, and then this means 30 seconds.
Okay.
So when you see that, like land the plane, put your
Okay.
last chapter on. Whenever you hear music,
So
that
this will
means
be
that
my section.
this
right
is
now.
you monologuing. If you do hand it back to me early, I'll ask you a follow up. So
Okay.
don't feel you got it, but it's good if you can fill the time.
Are you going to introduce me or?
Yeah, I'll introduce. No, I'll introduce you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll introduce you with the title. We have about another minute and a half. So I'll give you those cues. If you ever hear music, that means you gotta land the plane, because I got 30 seconds to get out.
Okay.
And then otherwise, and you're doing this well, but I forgot to tell you at the beginning, because it's only voice, there's a lot of like sort of over the top pushing, because the radio shrinks things down.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
bring a little bit more intensity. It might feel like, and it's sort of radio theater that
Yeah.
all the emotion and everything has to come through the voice because that's all people have. So I know you've been doing communications for a long time, but just as a reminder that keeping that,
Yeah.
it may feel unnatural, may feel over the top, but when you hear yourself later, it'll sound right down the middle. If you do.
Well, I can usually pull that off a little better on the topic when I'm not on the cuff on some of those topics,
Okay.
like marijuana.
You know. But just the passion coming through is the key.
Yep.
For good radio. Okay. Okay, we're back in about 15. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The answer, no, we're not here to lie to you. We're here to say the quiet stuff out loud. The rest of the media and other people and corporate interest and all that other junk can lie to you. But I'm happy that you're here. Learn to be a consumer, a good consumer of media. I think rather than saying, I don't believe anything, there's no truth anymore, they're lying all the time. No, learn to be a proper consumer. You gotta eat the meat and spit out the bones, and that's life in general. But we're here to try to redeem what's going on here and to provide you with good information that you can live your life with. And so regarding homelessness, we have the new president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams, here on Faith and Family Wednesday. And Travis is talking about now homelessness, the seen and unseen. Travis.
Yes. Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, this is Travis Williams, President and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, and I want to talk to you about something that feels heavy on all of our hearts: homelessness in Colorado Springs. I know that what you see can feel overwhelming. You can see tents along the trails, people holding signs on street corners, trash piles, and propane tanks. And then there are the news stories. They paint a picture that feels like nothing is changing. It's easy to feel disheartened. But what if I told you that what you don't see is even more powerful? Here's the part of the story that doesn't always make the headlines. Transformation is happening in Colorado Springs every single day, and it's because of people like you. You may not see it, but right now, thousands of individuals are choosing hope over standing on street corners because they found Christian care at Springs Rescue Mission. Over 210,000 meals are served each year, ensuring that no one in our city has to go hungry. Every morning, 170 men and women wake up ready to tackle their addictions, mental health challenges, and employment struggles because they have the support that they need. Life-changing programs are equipping neighbors to rebuild their lives and start fresh. And for the first time since 2015, Colorado Springs is experiencing the lowest levels of homelessness, and that is amazing that most people don't talk about. People do not see that. This is progress, this is transformation, and it's all because of this community's generosity, faith, and care. And another thing that people don't see often when they think of homelessness, they see this big blanket topic of homelessness, but they don't often see the people experiencing homelessness. Let me tell you really quickly about William, a neighbor who reminds us just how much your kindness matters. At 72, William never thought he'd face homelessness. After losing his wife and being overwhelmed by medical bills, he found himself with nowhere to go. He spent months on the streets, feeling invisible and hopeless. But because of this community support, William received a hot meal, a warm bed, and the care he needed to start over. Today, he's part of a housing readiness program, taking steps towards stability. We see that transformation every day And that's the power of what is unseen, those moments of healing and hope made possible by this community. I'm going to wrap up here reminding us of 2 Corinthians 4:18. It says, "So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." Think about that for a moment. The unseen, the quiet acts of love, the prayers, the small steps of recovery, these are the things that matter most. These are the internal impacts that change lives forever. So there may be visible signs of homelessness, but your faith and generosity focus on the invisible, the hope and transformation happening every single day. You are the reason Colorado Springs is a brighter, kinder place, and it truly is your mission, and we are proud as Springs Rescue Mission to represent this community's heart, their care, their wisdom in making Colorado Springs and the people the best that they can be.
You're listening to the Peak News. That was Travis Williams, President and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, talking about homelessness, the seen and unseen. When we come back here on the Peak, we're continuing this hour talking about homelessness. Really, how big is it in Colorado Springs and what can we do about it? We'll be back after the short national news break. Cool, excellent. Okay, it's just 2 minutes. So we're back with page 4, segment 4.
Segment 4, here we go.
So we're going to get more into the definite. You said, it's down, but still, how big is it? How many, how many people are being affected? What parts of the city? Like it's, obviously it's not, it's not happening inside Flying Horse. It's where is it? Where are the pocket?
Well, you're seeing some of the visible signs, so that's what's interesting. Is some of those visible signs have gone up, and we've done everything we can to create spaces. But there's still a question: why are some people not finding resources? Why are they not seeking them out when they're available?
Especially when it's this cold. There are people that just won't even go into the shelters. I find amazing.
So do I. Especially as hard as we work to make sure that, and we do something across the nation that you just don't see. The low barrier, come as you are.
Mm-hmm.
We even have a place for pets.
Do you have? Do you always have occupancy, or are you turning people away?
We have never turned anybody away due to capacity.
Okay.
In fact, when the temperatures drop, I tell our staff, let's do everything we can to get as many people in here as possible. And we have not had to cry uncle yet.
Okay. Well, that's a big deal.
Yep.
So okay, let me add that here. Okay, we're back in 30. Okay. I got it. Oh. Okay. Okay, I might be 30 seconds short. We might run up a little short, I think. An extra commercial got inserted, I think, so.
All right.
We might suddenly, the music might hit us unawares 30 seconds early. Let's see.
Okay.
That's it. Huh. That's cool. Bro, it's on a commercial. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer. And we want you to join in with us. We want you to be active. We don't like passive listeners at all, and we want you to do something. So if helping with homelessness is your thing, we're going to want you to get with Springs Rescue Mission or another NGO out there that's doing a good work. But if media, telling stories, getting information out to people, if that's your passion like it is mine, we want to give you an opportunity. Go to thepeak.news and find out about being a citizen journalist and join us here as we're about to go into our second year. And a shout out to another one of our sponsors, gold sponsor, John Graham Homes. We're talking about homelessness, so how about getting people into homes? John Graham Homes, your local Heroes Home Advantage affiliate, taking the drama out of, I can't say it like John does, drama, he's from New York, I'm from Philly, so I don't have that kind of accent. Taking the drama out of your home buying and selling experience while saving money too. Well, we're here on Faith and Family Wednesday with the new president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams. And so Travis, how did you come to be the president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission? We had Larry Yonker on, he was a founder,
Yeah,
right?
well, no, he was not actually the founder. He was probably, I think he was maybe the third CEO
really?
of the organization. The organization was actually founded in 1996.
Okay.
By the Vorks, and then Larry, I believe, was the third CEO.
Okay.
And I guess I'm now the fifth CEO of the Springs Rescue Mission.
Sort of like Pope. The fourth one didn't last so long, didn't have time to get him on here.
There you go.
So what's your story with the Springs Rescue Mission?
You know what, I'm a Colorado native, and I've always loved this community, and from an early age, I always felt like God calling me to really wrestle with these big ideas of what does it mean to love others well? What does it mean to have hope? What does it mean to have faith? And so I've been engaged in doing some form of ministry for many, many years. But Springs Rescue Mission was one of those unique places that, quite honestly, I was a little nervous about because the work is so practical, it is so hands-on. And it took Larry Yonker, our previous CEO, it took him a couple of years to convince me to come over to the Springs Rescue Mission. And when I did, I can be honest with you all that I was a little bit nervous about that transition. But I'll tell you this, that God has transformed my heart in the work. Whenever you're able to work with people and see what does it really mean to love others well, what does it mean to have hope, what does it mean to really live out faith, that is transformative. And so after 9 years now of serving as Chief Development Officer for the organization, helping connect this community to the organization, it is an honor and a privilege to serve the most vulnerable in our community as President and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. How big, you mentioned that the numbers are down, but they're still there. How big is the homelessness problem here? The thing is, we are a pretty big city. We become a pretty big city. And people say, well, our problems aren't that big. Well, good. How about we deal with them before they get so systemic that there's nothing we can do about it? So where are the pockets of homelessness? What are we seeing? What are the numbers that you have?
Yeah, so in general, there's one report that comes out every year. It's called a point in time survey. It's taken on one of the coldest nights in January every year, and a bunch of volunteers go throughout the community, scouring everywhere that they can to determine how many folks are out there. So those reports are what HUD uses to determine the state of homelessness in the United States. 18% is how the growth nationally. Colorado Springs, the lowest it's been since 2015. We have self-reported about 1,200 individuals in Colorado Springs experiencing homelessness. And that is the lowest level that it's been since 2015. And I would say one of the factors of that in the last decade, so almost a decade, Colorado Springs itself has grown almost 20%. So you would expect even the percentage of homelessness to kind of rise with the population. So the fact that it's the lowest level while the population has grown, it's really impressive. And I want to say it's a credit to how this community comes together, and private individuals working with government entities, businesses, churches. When good people actually roll up their sleeves and do something, I think Colorado Springs is a testimony to that work.
So it is, you feel that these numbers are down because of the work that's being done, not just because people have left or anything?
I do believe that. You know, just looking at Springs Rescue Mission, I mentioned it in the what's seen, what's not seen, but we're going to have almost 170 people wake up, or they woke up this morning, engaged in a work program. We see almost 200 individuals every year that go through a Springs Rescue Mission program that go back into this community. People listening today, their neighbor may have gone through our Springs Rescue Mission program. The guy that just fixed their sink may have gone through a Springs Rescue Mission program. We see this transformation every day, and so I do believe that Springs Rescue Mission, in partnership with this community, is making a difference and will continue to make a difference.
So continue on that. What is going on regarding this, you know, the government, the non-government organizations, the church, individuals, and specifically we'll get into what Springs Rescue Mission offers to help people not just, you know, stay warm for the night, but
Right.
to rehabilitate and get back to, you know, what we consider to be more normal American life than to be out on the streets. How do you see these things fitting together, and how do they work together in the Springs?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, it's not easy. If you look at the national discord around the nation, having conversations with people has become really challenging.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I appreciate in Colorado Springs, and maybe it's because our problem hasn't gotten to the point where it's out of control, is that folks in this community in general are willing to sit down and say, you know what, I may not believe exactly what you believe, but I'm willing to do something because I really care about my neighbor. And so I think Springs Rescue Mission has taken a posture that we want to work with people. We see ourselves as a Christian organization, a strong faith-based organization, and at the same time, we're willing to connect with our brothers and sisters in churches, and we're able to have meaningful conversations with those who are in government. And the thing that I think is really inspiring to me is that, yes, we have churches as institutions, government as institution, but it's really the individuals that step up. It's the private citizen who goes, you know what, I'm going to put my money where my heart is, and I'm going to work with Springs Rescue Mission to figure out how I can best love and care for a neighbor in this community.
So tell us about Springs Rescue Mission. What are the services that are offered? You know, what's really at the core, your DNA? What's at the core of Springs Rescue Mission?
Yeah, I'll tell you what the core of Springs Rescue Mission is. I would say, how do we love people well? How do you love your neighbor well? How do you love somebody who's struggling? How do you live out the more than 2,000 times it says in Scripture to care for those who are poor, who are homeless, who are downtrodden? What does that look like? And I think Springs Rescue Mission is a practical application of that. And so how we do that is we meet people right where they're at. There are so few barriers to how we're going to engage. You come into the rescue mission with a substance in your system, we've got you. You've got something on your record, we've got you. You've got a pet, welcome to the Springs Rescue Mission. We're going to meet you where you're at, but this is the distinctive of Springs Rescue Mission. We're not going to leave you there. We're going to provide shelter, meals, showers, but it's so much more. We're going to connect you relationally to people who are going to help see you through the hardest time in your life by helping you find mental health services, case management services, addiction recovery services, employment services, housing services. We have over 25 partner agencies all in one location. So if you're struggling with homelessness, you need to just go to Springs Rescue Mission and you're going to find 25 or more ways to find a pathway out of poverty, homelessness, and addiction.
Did it always have that vision from the very beginning, or was that something that developed over the years? I'm sure, I know it grew over the years, but did it always aspire to that?
You know what, talking with different leaders in the past, there's always been a vision for Springs Rescue Mission to be a community response to caring for people. And the founders of the organization could only imagine what Springs Rescue Mission would be today. Even 10 years ago when I came to the Springs Rescue Mission, I could only imagine what it is today. But where we have done a great job, I think, in this community is listening to what community members desire, what individuals who are experiencing homelessness need, and how can we really practically solve those problems. It's rare across the nation what we do. So if you're a listener in Colorado Springs, you're going, well, it's so challenging. You can't go to too many other cities and find what you have in Springs Rescue Mission.
So we have about 30 seconds left. How can people get involved? We have the springsrescuemission.org is the website, but I encourage people to get involved. In what ways can best ways to do it?
I'll tell you what, homelessness is 365 days a year. The best way to do this, if it's your first time engaging with Springs Rescue Mission, is to become a Good Samaritan sponsor. Prioritize your care. Every month you can provide shelter, showers, resources, job training for somebody in this community. If more people in this community stepped up and did that, we would transform not only Colorado Springs, but this nation. Become a Good Samaritan sponsor today, springsrescuemission.org.
Okay, thank you. Travis Williams, President and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission. Thanks so much for being on the Peak today.
Oh, it's good to be here.
When we come back, I'm going to share, because today is the 30th anniversary of my salvation. I learned about 5 things over the past 30 years. I'm going to share them with you quick when we come back with the Peak. Okay, talk to me.
How long do you have?
That came up 11 minutes. It should have been 12
Wow.
minutes. But by the time it ran through, because it played at least 2 insert spots that weren't our commercials.
Okay.
And then it threw in a bunch of others. It was only supposed to have 30 seconds. It's supposed to be out at 7:30. By the time I zeroed the clock going into the 4th segment, it was at 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I need to know by the time we come back, or when we come back, how much time do I have?
The rest of the show is going to
Because
run.
you bought a minute back, but I was a minute. I'm now running a minute and a half deficit. Where is that coming out? Because I got to throw to Jim. I have my piece.
So it only came out of here. So the rest of the show is going to be fine.
No, it can't. It can't be. You gave me a minute back, but you took 2.5 before we started. We came in 2.5 minutes late and left a minute early. We're still at a minute and a half deficit. Where's that coming out? Is it going to be in this segment? Is this segment going to be
Every
7.5
other show,
minutes?
every other segment's going to run exactly the same.
But that's impossible. We're gonna run up against, unless you shorten the commercials. Unless those commercials got. I'm just telling you. Go look at the clock. We're supposed to be out at 10 seconds before the hour. Where are we right now? I'm letting you know. Those are the numbers.
Right.
And sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to do math on the fly and figure out.
Yeah, I got you.
The computers are great, except when they glitch, and then.
That's the fun of a live show.
It
Right.
is. It is. And I'm trying to listen to you, think about what I'm going to
I
say
know.
next, doing reverse math, because my clock is up timing and I'm down timing.
I've been in your shoes many times, so I get it and empathize and hopefully holding this together.
Yeah,
as
that's
well
why I
as
was
we
like,
can.
it was just like, keep talking, keep going, keep going. Okay. Oh, that's. And how long is Jim's rant? Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer. We're going to be ending this segment with Jim Miller, just a guy in the Peak Rants, and he's going to talk about affordable housing here in the Springs from his position. But I want to share, because I'm so busy doing so much, but it dawned on me about an hour before the show, this date, January 8th, in my head, and I said, you know what? This is the day that I, as they say in Christianese, came to know the Lord. I was saved. I was redeemed. However you want to phrase it, I went from being a person who thought one way, was going in a direction, and radically, was transformed. But it doesn't happen overnight. There is that sanctification process, as they call it, that takes, I guess, all of our years left on this earth, and now 30 years in to this crazy walk, I wanted to share with you 5 things that I've learned. First of all, you can be Jewish and believe in Jesus, or as I like to call him, Yeshua, his Hebrew name. That is something that's like off the table to everybody, right? You got to choose, you got to pick, you got to decide which are you, what team are you on exactly, and that's why if you ever made, especially a first-generation Messianic Jew, we're quite conflicted, because on the one hand we've sort of, we're traitors. Right? Judaism considered us to be traitors, and not just from a religious standpoint. I didn't grow up religious. I was somewhat knowledgeable of it, but mostly a secular person. And then suddenly I become a religious person, and I've actually experienced my Jewishness and my practice of my faith so much more because I'm a believer in the Messiah than before. So don't let them tell you you got to pick. They actually can fit together, although it's complicated, but that's part of who I am. Number 2 that I've learned 30 years on as a believer, it's not about you. It's not about me. I read an article in the headline segment not too long ago here that during the Christmas holidays there were some churches that were having sort of somber Christmas Eve ceremonies for those people who maybe associate Christmas with they've lost a loved one or whatever, and we all do, and it was like, well, let's be somber at this time. And I'm thinking, this isn't about you. I mean, if you think that Christmas, I think he was born at a different time of year, that's another story. But if this is the day that you're celebrating the birth of the Savior, celebrate it. Don't make it about you. Don't ask for a somber service with downplayed music and all kinds of other stuff, because it's about God, it's about Him, it's about the Messiah, and then, of course, that transformation that takes place in you. And that leads me to number 3. We are saved unto good works. We're not saved to get a get out of hell free card or to go to heaven. We're actually saved unto good works. And as a Jewish believer, we focus on those. What does good works mean? Is that just something we make up? No, I would think God defines it. And you know what? This is interesting, and I'll just throw this out there. If you've ever heard the phrase, we say it's a mitzvah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. In Jewish, we say that. Well, what are mitzvah? The mitzvot are the commandments. So actually it's saying we're saved unto keeping the commandments and serving God through them. I know that flies in the face of people who think the commandments have gone away, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Number 4, the church isn't perfect, but it's your family. And that's a hard one. Being a Jewish person in the church is very challenging all the time. But as many times as, we sort of want to run away, and some in Messianic Judaism, we sort of sequester ourselves. I haven't. My family has sought to engage and re-engage and re-engage and re-engage with the church. It's not always easy, but again, it is family. And that's one thing we know in Judaism. At the end of the day, it's family, regardless of how you disagree. And I would think the church could learn a lot from that. Don't go down the block and forsake your brothers. And then last, and this is really, the culmination of it, your calling is your sanctification process. The thing that God calls you to do is actually the thing that transforms you. So it's not really a choice. If you stay away from walking in your calling, you're never going to get through that transformation, that crucifixion, that dying to self that you need to do. And so you need to walk it out in marriage and parenting and so many other things. Well, that's it. Hopefully I'll learn more over the next 30 years. And now Jim Miller, just a guy in the Peak Rants.
Got Jim Miller.
What?
You got Jim Miller.
Yeah, I got you, Jim?
Okay. How much time do you have on that? Full 7:30?
Well, no, that was 5.
Oh yeah, that was 5. Okay.
5 of the 7:30.
Cool.
I realized that I didn't punch it right at the beginning, so I may have stepped on him a little bit. I was counting up to 5. I think I had 5:05, so I might be 5 seconds short.
Okay.
I don't know if that.
I think his is 4 seconds short than what I told you. I think his is 4:26. So.
Right. No, that's fine for this. I know that there's a minute and a half missing in the show, and we're going to run up against it before the national clicks in. I mean, unless you're counting up to.
I don't think so. So
okay.
because you got the bumpers on the end, and the bumpers hit at the same time, no matter what. The end bumpers, the bump outs. So,
Alright.
even though we jumped in late, the end bumper hit at the time that it's supposed to.
By the way, anybody on Facebook, you enjoying this? This is what happens in live radio, behind the scenes. We do math at the breaks. So I just know that when I always go into the fourth segment at 7:30 on my calendar, and I had 10 by the time that thing sorted out.
Right.
And then we bought back a minute.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a minute and a half deficit.
Right. But
Because what's going on now is like right now, okay, it's 53. We're going to hit 54. There's going to be 3 minutes of commercials. That's going to take us up to 57. Okay,
Right.
and then I have 220. Okay.
yeah,
I don't know what happened.
yeah. I texted Matt and he said it probably had something to do with where he put
Yeah.
the spot.
Well, he
in.
did. I heard 2 ads that weren't ours, and I'm like, why are we getting
Yeah.
regular insertions?
Yeah.
Then it started inserting our ads, including Ellie's.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we'll
Um,
have to look at the air check and figure out.
yeah.
Okay, but you think
I think we'll
perfectly
be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You too now, Mark.
Okay, thanks. I blame Seth.
Are you closing out the show? Or?
Yeah. I have a 2-minute close. I think I have a 2-minute close, and then we'll do the bonus. So regarding the bonus segment, it can be anything. It's
Okay.
just web only. It can be not Springs Rescue Mission, something else you're want to talk about, passionate about, the city, anything, because it doesn't have to be congruent with the show. So. Okay. Page 6.
So how is this your? Is this your full time?
Sorta, kinda. Hold on a second. Oh, there it is. I need it on page 6. This is my project, my personal project, but I work for Salem. So I do a couple shows for Salem, and they created a unique position for me here. So I actually do a little bit of sales, and I do some production for them, and then I run my organization out of here. And I also do church voter guides.
Yeah, okay.
It's also my project.
Oh, that's good. Those
So-
are always helpful.
So I've been doing that for 4 years. So I basically run everything out of here and bring what I bring to Salem.
Yeah. That's great.
And so yeah, I'm trying to make it that way. Trying to get the financial side of it in here so it all works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you do a great
I
job.
just do ministry.
I loved your
And,
5 points. I thought that was. I actually really of the whole segment. I enjoyed your 5.
Thank you. More than your own?
I did. I like yours better than mine.
Well, you knew yours.
Well, and I think
you knew
well,
your
but
stuff already.
but there's something deep, and I think that's with the rescue mission is it's these transformation happens individually, right? And so your individual transformation is inspiring. Probably the best segment that we would have is
Yeah.
having a guest on here that had a transformation,
Yeah, testimony.
right? Yeah.
The crazy thing is I knew it was January 6th week, so we did a J6 show. We did a J6 show on Monday, and then I planned one for today with Rebecca, and then I was like, this was your day, but anyway, I'll do it next week. Thanks for joining us on the Peak News as we finish out Faith and Family Wednesday. Thank you for, I say let me share. I have the microphone, so you don't let me do anything. But we thank you for listening. Hope it was inspiring to you. We really need to do something in our community, and so I pray that you are. And if you want to join us here, we would love that. Go on the peak.news, find your place here. We need reporters, we need techs, interns, sponsors, guests. And so you'll find that all on our website, and here Monday through Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. here on The Answer. So tomorrow is Media and Education Day, and we have Peak investigative journalist Jordan Baldwin back, as well as District Attorney George Brockler with an update on this Mayor Yemi hate crime hoax. Yes, the story isn't going away, and we'll fill you in more, plus other investigations that we're working on. And then Business and Culture Monday, very excited about this. We've been trying to get him on the program for a long time. Local visionary mega entrepreneur, Venue, formerly Notes Live CEO and builder and operator of the Ford Amphitheater and so much more. J.W. Roth is going to be our guest for the hour on Monday. Now stay tuned for the Larry Elder Show coming up next on AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, and check out our more than 150 podcasts on thepeak.news. And last, just so much going on. Taste of the Peak, January 30th, down at the wonderful Pinery. Go to thepeak.news/events and check it out. It's for our educational foundation. We have Michael Gall, superintendent of D11, Heidi Ganal, Chris Gould, our GM here, and even Jeff Crank, our new congressman, is going to be involved with that. And I'm emceeing. It's going to be a really fun night. Food, fun, and helping youth in our community break into broadcast media, just like segue back to Seth at the board today, celebrating his 18th birthday, running the show as our intern. The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud, and with your help, we're saying it even louder for such a time as this. Shalom, y'all. Cool.
Was that a big yippee-yi?
Okay, let me tell him we're going to do an extra signal. See, man, not fun to do that. Hey, we're going to do a 10-minute film. Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
Oh man, we can talk about all kinds of things.
Well, you have to tell me. We got 10 minutes.
All right,
what do you
10
want to
minutes.
talk about for 10 minutes?
Let's talk about.
Okay, and hey everybody, we're going to keep the live stream going if you're there, because we do a bonus segment with our guests. We have them here in the studio. They're all warmed up, ready to go. And then I say, what do you really want to talk about? So we'll be starting that shortly, the bonus segment. So
Yeah. So what do I really want to talk about? I think your listeners want to just stay tuned in. We're going to talk about really kind of highlighting some more where Springs Rescue Mission is going to be going from a vision standpoint.
Okay.
And then, at the same time, one of the biggest questions that I get is, what do I as a private citizen, what's my best way to help?
Okay.
When I see somebody on the street corner, I think that's always one of the hot
Okay.
topics questions that I get.
Like, should you approach them if you're a non-professional and things like that?
Yeah. What do I do when somebody's on the street corner?
Okay, so we'll get some, like a tutorial, homeless tutorial.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. We ready?
Just to let you know, I'm heading out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
So are you here the rest of the week? You're gone? No.
I'm gonna be back on Monday.
On Monday. Okay.
Yes. Mondays and Wednesdays is when I get to be
Okay,
here.
cool. We're having the 15th anniversary show next week.
Understood at 4
man.
to 6, right?
The party, the show from 3 to 4, and then
Yes.
so you could maybe run the board for that because James will actually be in here
All
during
right.
the show.
And then after that, I'll let
We'll
Mom
be here
know,
for the
and
party.
then I'll let you know on Monday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it your birthday, Seth? You,
Yes.
Seth? Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're having I'll send you an invite. Now that you're a guest, we're having a party in the office after the 1-year anniversary show. So.
Oh, great.
You ready? Okay. And turn it off. Okay. You're heading out. Okay. Thought this is work. Work number 5. Work number 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, James. So tell me when we're rolling. And this isn't so tightly timed, but we shoot for like 10 minutes.
Okay. And this shows up on podcast? Or?
This will be when people go to our podcast page. There'll be the podcast, and then there'll be a bonus segment
Gotcha.
below it that they can click on and listen to.
Okay, we're all set. I'm on Adobe and also on this computer set at the back of this.
So I need to turn both of them off, or
Yeah, but for this one, you just put
okay, I'll try to figure it out. Okay, thank you.
no problem. And I'll upload this on here.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, for all 3 shows this week, I need the audios. Okay, thanks a lot, James. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're rolling. I can go. Okay. Welcome to The Peak Elevated. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, executive producer and host of The Peak. And occasionally, we have the guest hang out a little bit longer and do a bonus segment because, we just can't fit everything we want to do in an hour. So with the wonder of the internet, we have this extra time for you to listen. And we have, as our guest today, and now on The Peak Elevated, on this Faith and Family Wednesday, the new president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission, Travis Williams. Travis, thanks so much for being here on The Peak.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that we have this extra segment because on the first segment, I called you Goldman, and then we had this whole exchange on how to say your name. So Chaim.
Chaim, yeah, there you go.
Chaim, I just have to say that correctly on the second segment.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's actually why we're back. So if you came
just-
back for this section, you're in for a real treat.
We'll do a whole show on how to pronounce my name without spitting too far across the. This time of year, a lot of people are sick. It's actually easier for people to pull off my name, but actually, it means life, is what it means.
I actually tried to learn Hebrew at one point. I was going to go to seminary and thought, you know what, before I go to seminary, I'm going to learn. So I was trying and actually talked with Messianic Jews to try and learn how to say it. And I learned that it was going to be a long road.
Well, it's just there. At least Hebrew doesn't have any of those like clicky African kind of things. That's difficult, but it does have some sounds that are not in English. Well, let's get to what's at hand here. Is we didn't really during the program have a time to get into what it means for you to be the president and CEO. I'll have you give your backstory some. You've been 9 years there at Springs Rescue Mission, and now you're in the driver's seat there. Give us a little bit about your background and how you got here. But with such a long-standing tradition and such an amazing vision, do you bring something new to the table?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to do that, or is it just how do you maintain business as usual?
I'll say this: I don't think there's ever business as usual at Springs Rescue Mission. Every day brings its own unique set of challenges while we're trying to press in and bring forth vision to this community. I would say that the big picture for Springs Rescue Mission, we've always been about caring for those who are struggling with poverty, homelessness, and addiction. And over the last few years, we've really narrowed our focus on homelessness, specifically chronic homelessness. But Springs Rescue Mission's brand and what we stand for really does latch on to these big ideas of what does it mean to love your neighbor, and how do we help people who are really struggling with poverty, homelessness, and addiction. So for Springs Rescue Mission, with this community support, we really have a unique place to play in many realms within this community to help people really serve others well. So I think that's the greatest thing about the vision at Springs Rescue Mission. If we continue to tap into that, continue to tap into good people in this community, I believe that Colorado Springs, through Springs Rescue Mission, will be a model for Colorado, but not just for Colorado, for the nation in how a community really tackles its deepest, biggest challenges.
So how are you planning to, how long have you been in this position? It's not very long.
Yeah, no, I think maybe 3 weeks at this
Okay.
juncture. Yeah, so you're catching me here.
So,
fresh.
but you've been with the organization a long time. You know, what is it that you feel that you can do to put your special mark on it, your personality, and honor the tradition, but moving into the future? What is Travis Williams' plans for Springs Rescue Mission?
Yeah, no, great question. Um, when I look at Springs Rescue Mission, again, we have gone, the organization started quite simply as just passing out sandwiches to people who were struggling with homelessness back in the day. And then it's slowly moved into some addiction recovery. Shocking fact, Springs Rescue Mission, even though we are known as the city's largest shelter, just a little over a decade ago, Springs Rescue Mission didn't shelter anybody. We were primarily an addiction recovery program that offered some poverty relief and homeless relief services to individuals. We did have some case management, but today, within the short time of about 8 years, we created one of the nation's only homeless outreach campuses. I mentioned this in the first segment, but it's rare to have one location with multiple layers of care. And so that's been our focus for the last, really, that campus was completed in 2021. And so we're 3 years into that. But Springs Rescue Mission, I do believe that some of our next steps, we've primarily been focused on individuals. I see us having a pathway in the future to figure out some different and creative ways to really help families. One of the fastest growing populations of homelessness in Colorado Springs, even though the numbers are down, has been family homelessness. So I really do see that Springs Rescue Mission will be looking at ways to figure out how do we find our unique way to care for individuals who are struggling with chronic homelessness in Colorado Springs, and also keep families from dipping into homelessness.
Is there a project that's completely just not part of Springs Rescue Mission now that you see that you may want to bring in?
That would be, if we move in that direction, that would be something that we have not done. And so, but here's the reality is and I'd say this is a history of Springs Rescue Mission. As much as every CEO has put their fingerprints on it, what I've seen, because I've been there almost 9 years now, is that this community puts their fingerprints on it. And the Springs Rescue Mission, when we're good at our jobs as CEO, we're a conduit for this community's compassion and care. So oftentimes we can only move as a donor-funded organization at the pace and the speed that this community goes with us. And so as we continue to inspire folks for what does it mean to really love well and care for others in this community, that's the speed that Springs Rescue Mission is going to have the ability to really care for people, even in more interesting ways than we already do.
So does it work that you, in the past, you come up with variations on the theme and then go to get it funded, or the people come to you and say, I want to specifically fund something?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of both. It's kind of, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I think we often have great ideas. Springs Rescue Mission, I can always say we are an entrepreneurial organization. We are a make it better organization. But when we're out there making it better, we're dependent on this community. So we may bring forth a vision, and somebody like yourself might say, that's pretty good, but if I'm going to get behind it, this would really make it great. And we go, that's an interesting idea. We didn't think of that, but what if we could combine this and that? And that's one of the things that you see at Springs Rescue Mission today is our previous CEO, Larry Yonker, when he was thinking about this campus, well, there was an idea of bringing all these services together, but there wasn't an idea of what are those outcomes going to be. And so as we start to talk to funders, they start saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if you got these many people employed? That's good. Well, we can do work programs. Wouldn't it be great if you help these many people be housed? What? Well, we've got them on the campus. Let's figure out housing programs. How do we figure out health programs? And so I think that's a great example of how we work with the community. We're never going to be short on vision. I know myself as a leader, I'm never short on vision, But the secret of success for any nonprofit is not just having vision, it's how well you're able to inspire a community around you to help fulfill that vision.
So let's talk about on a practical outside of Springs Rescue Mission. We're out, we're about, we see somebody who's homeless. You know, there's sometimes we're just busy and it's like, you know what, I see this too much and I'm going on, and we sort of pretend we don't see them there. I'm sure it's harder because now in this cashless society, I look down, I don't even have cash.
Right.
I'm not going to hand them my plastic. I
Right.
won't do much. Although who knows, maybe they have a QR code or something to swipe. But and then there's other people that say, you know what, these people can be dangerous, they'll con you, that they could harm you, don't approach them unless you're professional. What is your overall advice? Of course, what is the Holy Spirit telling you how to do?
Yeah.
That would be key. But in that whole mix of how to deal with the person that's in front of you, what do you recommend to us as a community?
I'll tell you what, that is if I'm out in the community, that's the number one question I get. What do I do when I see somebody on the street corner? And this is one of the things that I'm really proud of for Springs Rescue Mission is regardless of what is on, let's say you try and do the best thing that you possibly can. The reality is you as an individual, you're going to have 25 seconds. And for some of us, we think, I could change that person's life in 25 seconds. I mean, most of us can't even think about losing weight in 25 seconds, let alone change somebody's life who is experiencing homelessness. So I think we have to understand that ourselves as a community member, that there's only so much that you really can do, and that homelessness is complex, that whatever is on their sign, you can only solve it for maybe a little bit. But what somebody needs is long-term relationship and care. So the best thing that you can do when you see somebody's on the street is, number one, if you choose to, you can engage with them just like any other human being. Hey, what you doing? Well, I'm trying to get some money. Can't you see? Oh, that's good. Hey, have you been to the Springs Rescue Mission? I don't know. I don't think I could go there. Well, why not? Well, and then proceed to just let them know that, hey, I've actually support the Springs Rescue Mission. If you go there, you're going to have access to whatever's on your sign. If your sign says, we'll work for food, good news is we serve 3 meals a day. Looking for a job, we have employment training. Can't kick my addiction, need some help, we've got addiction recovery training. Whatever it is, addiction recovery programs, whatever it is on their sign.
And you'll take the dog too.
And we'll take the dog too. And I would say that for Colorado Springs particularly, if more people will just remember that there are good services out there, that they don't have to feel guilty. And I'd say that a lot of the pieces, now I never want to talk somebody out of, if God's telling you to do something, you do something. But if you're motivated not by the Holy Spirit, but out of guilt, I think it's an opportunity to kind of check your motivations. And then if you really want to do something and you want to do all the best things for somebody, support the Springs Rescue Mission. $25 a month. Versus if you did the best thing, said, I'm going to put this person up in a hotel. I'm going to buy them 3 meals. I'm going to get them access to counseling. I mean, if you did that for one day, you'd probably be looking at $150 if you go the cheapest route possible. So for $25, you can give somebody 3 meals a day, showers, laundry, all the things that they need to find a pathway out of homelessness.
Now, what about getting them there? I mean, some people might, and we're not giving you any legal advice or anything here. You know, we'll say, hey, get in the car, and I'll give you a ride down there. But of course, there's a potential risk depending on the person. Do you go pick people up, or at what point, or do people have to find their way there? You know, what if I see somebody, I'm not comfortable having them in the car, but they said they'd like to go. Like, what do you do in that situation? How do they actually? Because it's a pretty big city.
It is a pretty big city, and fortunately, many of the bus routes, they go right by the Springs Rescue Mission. We've had folks who say, hey, can I get you an Uber, for example, and have somebody come down. Actually, oftentimes the police, if somebody really wants, there's a homeless outreach team, if somebody really wants, they'll come and help take somebody to the Springs Rescue Mission. And that's one of those examples of this community working together, is that the more that we can all be educated on what services are out there, who's doing what, the more that I think we can confidently care for our neighbors who are struggling, and then ultimately get them to the right resources and see their lives find a pathway out of homelessness.
Okay, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm still thinking about making sure I say your name correctly. No, I'll
That's
tell you
okay.
what. Final thoughts. One of the things that I've been talking about is it's your mission, and that's really the posture of Springs Rescue Mission. All of our messaging since I became interim president and now president and CEO is really turning the power of the rescue mission over to the people. We need people to take that next step. And so if somebody out there who's listening going, you know what, I want to be part of something dynamic, something amazing, I want to be part of life transformation, Springs Rescue Mission, there's a place for you in the mission because this is God's mission. Therefore, if you're a believer, it's your mission.
Okay, you've been listening to The Peak Elevated with Travis Williams, new president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission. Travis, thanks so much for being on The Peak.
Hey, we've had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, we have. So support the website, springsrescuemission.org, springsrescuemission.org for everything Springs Rescue Mission. I'm Chaim Goldman for The Peak. Thank you. Okay.
All right.